Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined by Peter Baracchini and Dayton Reimer. Just wrapping up the World Juniors. It was a fun tournament. It's always great when the time zones align. You know, the times aren't ridiculous early in the morning, or when they're out in Europe, they're like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Or 4, whatever. It's really early in the morning to watch games. But all these were manageable times. So I was able to watch most of the tournament, which is great. So Peter, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah. Like you said, I don't mind waking up a little bit early to watch some morning hockey. We're going to get that fixed with the Olympics coming up soon. Yeah. So it's a good time to watch all the later games, get some Z's, or even watch it in the evening, relax, unwind a little bit. But yeah, fun tournament all around. Everyone well knows about it, but Sweden winning their first gold medal in the 13, 14 years since 2012. That's historic for them. And if there was one team that could get it done, it was this one, because they were very, very stacked up front and had really great balance throughout their lineup. So congrats to Sweden. They really deserve it.
Yeah. And I was on record with when our predictions. I said Sweden. And I doubled down on it in our semifinal preview with Justin, and I'm like, I'm gonna stick with it, and I was right. So that's great. It's always great when I can be right with predictions. So, Dayton, how's it going?
Also good. Yeah, it was a super fun tournament to cover and to write for and to watch. World Juniors are a good time. I did pick the bronze and silver medalists. I don't know if I ever made that public here, but my wife can attest that I had talked about it before the tournament. The bronze medalist, I did put an article out with that prediction. That was my bold take. So that one worked out.
There we go.
I had Canada in the gold medal game, so I was wrong on that, but I had Sweden in there, and I picked Sweden over Canada. But yeah, it was a great tournament. It was fun to watch. The semifinals were ridiculous. I'd say they're probably the two most exciting games that I've seen in a while. Very tight. Both went to, were really exciting back and forth games. That Finland-Sweden game, man, I'm going right to the shootout, and overtime was really exciting. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's semifinals, so we can talk a little bit about that throughout, because, of course, we're going to talk about the teams in those. So we'll start with the bronze medal game, which had Canada and Finland, and Canada wins that. It wasn't as back and forth as I think it was the Boxing Day one, where it was 7-5 or something like that. It was still high scoring, both teams scoring a lot. The third period, though, Canada kind of pulled ahead and pulled away from and won bronze. So looking at the team pictures, there's always, you can see that they didn't want bronze. It was a very subdued team photo. I think that's the most disappointing photo, having a medal. But bronze is not something Canada, of course, every team, I think Canada in particular, bronze is not something that they wanted, of course. Yeah. There are teams that they're fine with getting bronze, but Canada, of course, is always going for the gold. Not saying every team doesn't, but it was a disappointing thing, but they still won bronze. I think after a while, they're going to be like, well, we won bronze. I think it's just initial thing. It's disappointing. Mm-hmm. But Peter, I'll start with you. What'd you think about the bronze medal game?
It may not have had shades of Canada, Czechia, but semifinal against Czechia is definitely shades of that, Boxing Day matchup going back and forth. But this had shades of that New Year's Eve matchup going back and forth, where it was 2-2 in the first 4 minutes. And, it was like that again this time around. It was a back and forth affair. Like you mentioned, Canada pulled away, and it's very easy for a team to bow out at that point, especially when you lost in another defeating fashion like they did 3 straight years to Czechia, 3 straight years in the final minute or just over the final minute remaining. That's the fighting for anyone. But they regrouped, they battled hard, and they still stuck to their game plan with that very offense-heavy type of mindset. Obviously, the defense was a major question mark throughout the tournament. I thought at some point they would probably gel a little bit together. as soon as the tournament went on, it still started to sit with me that it was going to be either a detrimental to them or a strength if they turn it around. Unfortunately, it was a detriment to them because of how many goals they gave up, turnovers, especially against Czechia, but even against Finland too. They kind of cleaned up a little bit, still some mistakes here and there. But again, bronze medal is a bronze medal for them. If you were to tell me that the last for Team Canada right now, yeah, it is disappointing that they didn't get gold because they were coming in with that mindset. The Dream Killers are getting, vengeance on all the teams that knocked them out previously before. Latvia last year, Czechia 2 years. I think they had the mindset to go all the way. They just didn't have it. And I think right now the bronze medal is a big step for them to get back to that point. But there's still a lot of questions with this team where they brought all the best players. It's just, can they put it all together? That was the main thing. They did it for the bronze medal game, but they just couldn't quite do it for the semifinal to get to the gold medal. And I mean, again, Zane Perek, moving his way up, or securing, the most points by defender at this tournament. So he's in the history books right now. He's standing all alone. A good-ish performance from Gavin McKenna. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. I don't want to get too much into that. But even some other players too. Michael Haig was fantastic. I really like TJ Ginla. Again, wanted a little bit more from Carter George, considering he was one of the top goaltenders or in save percentage last year. Didn't quite have that this year. So it seemed like goaltending was going to be the strength. It wasn't. Defense could have been a little bit better. It wasn't. All they had was a way to outscore their problems, and it wasn't a really good plan for them. But congrats to them on the bronze. Hopefully that they could bring some of these players next year, have a little bit more fuel to that fire, that they could play a more complete game and get to the gold medal and ultimately winning it.
The thing about it is, I think it was Craig Button that was saying this, that they needed to get a medal out of this year, going back home next year's in Alberta there. And I think, going back in there and not getting a medal or getting kicked in the semis or quarterfinal, not kicked in the semi, kicked in the quarterfinal again, getting a medal is a big deal. And bronze, yes, it wasn't of course, not the thing they came in to get, but it's a step forward. And next year on home soil, hopefully you will win gold this time. And they were missing a lot of key talent. Like we talked about, guys that couldn't go because they're in the NHL. And that's a big deal. If they were part of it, maybe it's different. I don't know. But yeah, it's a big thing getting bronze for sure. Right, Dayton, what do you think about the bronze medal game and Canada winning bronze there?
Yeah, I thought it was a good game. Fun to watch. Tight early. I was just getting home from work, so I missed the first period. It is what it is. My wife was keeping me updated, though. It was very nice of her. And then, watching Canada, I felt like they sort of took control throughout the rest of that game. They managed to get ahead. Couple of little slips in the third period. They kind of all tournament, they struggled in that third period and gave up some really key goals. I guess my biggest thought is just like the messaging for Team Canada needs to change. This is a team that the program isn't what it used to be. This is not a program that can come in and dominate immediately and expect to win gold every year. We now have one medal in 3 years. It's much more competitive now, and other teams know how to get under Canada's skin. Yeah. And they have not shown that resiliency that the other teams showed. Finland, massive props to them. They came and played every single game. They went down early often, but they always finished strong. And in that last period, Finland dominated the shot count. It was 17-6 in the last period of that game. They had the momentum, but just couldn't get past, Carter George. He did play decently in that last frame. The Canadians shut him down as much as they could. But it was still hard to be excited for their win because they all looked depressed. Yeah. They didn't want it. And I get it. You want the gold. You don't want to settle for bronze, but you still won. Like, this is a team that deserved a bronze. Like, I saw a bronze medal team here, not a gold medal team, not a silver medal team. They were a bronze medal team. They had massive issues at times. And not to get too much into it, but the semifinal game against Czechia where they lost, embarrassing.
Yeah.
I felt bad for being a Canadian almost, to put it in very blunt terms. Like that, I saw people in the stands, raging out. I saw the players being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what Canadian hockey should be, in my opinion. Even though they're all competitive, like, you should want to win, but you got to lose gracefully too.
Yeah, for sure.
I was about to say, you brought up a good point about how teams are playing Canada right now. And this was the whole mantra in the past too, where they had the skill, but they also had that work ethic where they were going in that they were going to be the team to beat, whether they had that skill or not. And I know a couple of teams on that, 5 straight medal runs. And like after that, fantastic year with Crosby, Perry, Bergeron, that team, the following year, it was a little bit more of a different story. You had more of a grinded out kind of style, but a lot of guys stepped up big time. Canada doesn't strays away from that. They try to win on their skill alone, but that skill sometimes isn't going to be enough. It's kind of like sometimes in the playoffs, you need to dig in deep. You need to grind it out. A lot of those players aren't the kind of players that could grind it out along the boards or get into the dirty areas. That to me is a mistake. Czechia played the past Canadian game to a T. Finland executed well with Canada's past Canada game. Canada right now can't execute on skill alone, and that to me shows that they need to, like you said, Dayton, to change their mindset. And that to me was a big difference maker and what it's been like in the past few years.
Yeah. They haven't been adaptable, right? Like,
yeah.
The other teams have adapted to Canada's style. Canada hasn't adapted to anyone because, like, why would they? They're the best.
Yeah.
Not anymore. They're not the best anymore. And they need to accept that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree for sure. And I mean, there's so many teams that, like they're saying, it's not a foregone conclusion that Canada's winning gold, or it's Canada US in the in the gold medal game. That's something that it seemed to be always a given in the past, and now it's not. The US, yes, they've won the last 2 before this one, but it's something that you're looking at Czechia. They're a strong program, man. My gosh, they really impressed me throughout the. They didn't win gold, but that's because just Sweden was the better team, and we'll talk about that next. But yeah, I think Czechia just they've really impressed over the last few, even though they haven't won gold all the time. But they've gotten a medal in the last 3 years that they've got a medal. So
4 years now, I believe.
4 years now, yeah. So I mean, that's great for Czechia wasn't always a strong nation in the World Juniors, and they've really turned it around. So yeah, and Finland's always there. Sweden's always a strong. There's just so many good countries now that are in this tournament, and Canada's not just the one that they're going to win gold for sure. Which I love. I like the parity. I always kind of
100%.
I admit in the past I was like, oh, Canada's just going to blow them out. It was kind of like, well, why watch? They're just going to win by like 8-1 or something like that. So I mean, I really like the parity that every game is going to be a competitive one. Even the teams like Switzerland and they put up fights, and Latvia as well. So yeah, it's a very competitive tournament now. All right, let's move to the gold medal game, which Sweden, for the most part, they really shut Czechia down. I mean, they played almost a perfect game until the last minute or so, where Czechia pulled the goalie and they got a couple goals. Made everyone kind of sweat. They're like, I think Swedish fans were already going, "Oh no, what's
not again?"
The curse is real. But yeah, they ended up winning it 4-2, and broke 2012 was the last time they won gold. And they're talking about Mika Zibanejad being on that team, and he's a veteran NHL player. What is he? Early 30s. that's just, it's crazy. I mean, how long ago that they won gold, and finally that narrative can be done. Every year, even though none of these young guys were not born, but very young when their nation last won gold, it still hangs over them. So that's great that that's done for them. Dayton, I'll start with you. What do you think about the gold medal game with Sweden winning it?
It was a fantastic game. I think it lived up to its hype. Sweden and Czechia were the two best teams in this tournament, and I mean, Sweden played almost a perfect game.
Yeah.
Czechia found finally like some cracks in their defense right at the end, almost made it into overtime, and then just that one little mistake to give Sweden that 4-2 lead.
Yeah.
Right at the very end. What was that? 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
Like the kid who did it, I can't remember who it was, who gave up the puck. Like, he was crushed. And I felt bad for him because, like, it's not his fault. He shouldn't be taking that on his shoulders, but it was such a great game. Sweden was perfect. They were fast, they were skilled, they were defensive. They didn't take anything for granted. They didn't look for the easy routes, the cheap takes or whatever. They just played better than you in almost every facet. And it was such a great, like, hockey game. Yeah. You just watched good hockey the whole 60 minutes. And the Czechs rose to the occasion. This isn't a team that, lucked into getting in the final. They worked hard and they had the skill. And like Thomas Galvis was incredible. A fantastic offensive defenseman. They weren't quite at that Swedish level, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it fully lived up to what a gold medal game should be.
I loved it. It was very Sweden played really, like, their defensive game was on. I mean, they were blocking shots. They were doing all the things that, in a playoff game, that's what you do to win. I had great goaltending from Herrenstrom. Like you say, every facet of their game was great. And their defense, 2 goals by defensemen, I believe, in the game. So it's like, it was a great game overall. Peter, any other thoughts on the gold medal for Sweden?
Just the fact that they dominated from the opening puck drop. Like, they wanted to end that streak big time. I mean, and like I mentioned before, if there was any roster to end a massive year-long drought of not winning a gold medal, it was this one. And look at the talent that they had up front. Frondell, Berglund, like, even comparing them to the team that won in 2012, the amount of NHL talent that they have is insurmountable. I mean, there was Mika Zibanejad, Ricard Raquel, Brodin, Klingberg. Philip Forsberg only had 1 assist in that tournament, and I can't believe that was even possible. And now look at him in, right now in the league as like a premier goal scorer. Digress a little bit, but you look at everyone on there, it was a very well fine-tuned oil machine with this team. I mean, Eddie Yenberg, Victor Eklund, Alphonse Frey. I already mentioned Lucas Pettersson. There's Eric Nielsen, Linus Eriksson. This team had it all. And let's not forget that, there are some players that didn't quite play a whole lot, but they managed to get the job done. And it was literally for like 57, 58 minutes where it was textbook shutdown hockey. Czechia did pull the goalie. It was 6-on-5. They did have a little bit of an advantage. Those 2 quick goals, they did wear them down a bit, but it didn't deter Sweden. And I think that obviously Ivar Stenberg cementing that. You saw the joy and, the emotion from his face jumping up and down. That was it. It was over and done with at that point. But it was a really good, gold medal match. And again, props to Czechia because they deserve to be there. I even said it against Canada. The better team did win. Or if you want to put it that maybe both of them had their ups and downs in that game, the more resilient team won. And that was definitely Czechia. And their resiliency showed throughout the whole entire tournament. Didn't get off to a good start. Again, some shaky moments, even for Sweden too. They were taken to the, going to distance with Slovakia in the opener until Ivar Stenberg got the game winner. And then at that point, that's where he took off and the team took off as well. So both teams have had their scares. They had their moments. They were both resilient, but ultimately Sweden was the one to come out on top. And it was a fantastic matchup. And I love the little, apparently the clip of Vaclav Nestershell and Anton Fromdell talking to each other in the line, and Nestershell telling him F off because of the fact that, you know, they got that little friendly jab going on because they're Blackhawks prospects right now. That to me was really funny. But yeah, you know, that's what you want to see too with like future teammates, you know, had that little bit of a battle, you know, a little bit of a banter back and forth. That was great to see as well. And yeah, it does suck that a team has to lose the gold and get the silver, because if Czechia had it any other way, they probably should have been, you know, I mean, I had them as a medal contender. I had Sweden, I had Canada, Sweden, Czechia, 1, 2, 3, just the roles kind of reverse with the medal placement there. But Czechia, props to them for having a really great game as well. But Sweden ultimately deserved it. And I think they knew that they could do it after they toppled Team USA. That to me was a big difference maker and a turning point for them.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the guys that you mentioned, like so many, I mean, Ivar Stenberg, I mean, I don't want to give too much because it's our next segment. But yeah, he looked like an NHL player in that tournament. So it's like, that's a guy that could go first overall. And I mean, he's really upped his stock. I mean, he was always going to be probably a top 3 guy, but it's not a foregone conclusion of who's first overall right now. And it's a good segue. Let's move into that because Gavin McKenna, and last year when he was dominating the WHL, everyone was saying, oh, there's stuff, he's first overall. I mean, there's no one close. But now NCAA and stuff like, and this tournament, I mean, yes, he had a ton of points, but I don't think he dominated the tournament at all for a guy that's supposed to be first overall. Ivar Stenberg didn't dominate either, but I mean, I think he looked better than McKenna throughout this tournament. And these are two guys that are probably going to be battling between that first overall. There are some other guys that are going to enter that conversation, Keaton Berhoff for sure. So, I mean, there are some other names that might sneak in, but Peter, I'll start with you. I mean, we've talked about McKenna, I want to say for the last 3 years or he's not eligible till 2026. Well, it's 2026 now. And Ivar Stenberg, of course, is kind of I'd say that's the head-to-head matchup right now. Who are you looking at that after this tournament has the edge in this discussion here?
Well, it sucks that I have to give a bit of a spoiler right now because I'm actually writing about this topic, including Keaton Verhoff. So whoever's watching this tomorrow, you're going to get an early sneak peek or my early take as well. Yeah, you hit it right on the head too. I mean, for years we've been talking about Gavin McKenna and how for sure he's going to be the 2026 top pick. And we thought the same thing with James Higgins last year. Yeah, we thought that he was going to be the number 1 pick because of that speed, the skill, the offensive upside. And even though he's a smaller center, this is a guy that still showed or had good results in college. Maybe not to the level of Celebrini or Fantilli, even with McKenna right now. Good production, but nowhere to their caliber right now. Then ultimately, Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa came into the fray and Higgins fell down. Now, Ivar Stenberg is creeping up into the conversation and could vault him. And I think that he can vault him, and he has with this tournament for a number of reasons. As we mentioned too, it was like a very quiet 14-point performance from McKenna, where usually if there was another player, it would instantly captivate heads if they were absolutely dominant. But for some reason, he had his moments and then he didn't. He was engaging in puck battles and tried to, tell those doubters that, yeah, I can battle. I can win puck battles. I can show a little bit of a compete level that you say I don't have, and then he didn't. And it was very well known in that game against Czechia, where you take time and space away from McKenna, he's going to struggle. His game, it revolves around time and space, the puck skills, and his speed to get him out of trouble. He showed that, but he didn't have an answer when it was or when it was being presented to him. He had that aspect to his game in the first Czechia game, but they basically adapted and said, you know what, take time and space away from McKenna. The puck's going to go through him. You know he's going to distribute it. You know he's a playmaker. But lo and behold, what happened? Yeah, he did get an assist on Reshi's goal, but again, as Dayton mentioned off the air too, a lot of secondary points. He was leading the charge, but there were at points where he wasn't. So to me, that kind of brings into question, if you're not already at a competitive level right now, are you still in contention for first, or is it going to be something where you're going to project him down 2-3 years down the line? You could hope he could get to that point and it could work out. But right now, Ivar Stenberg, like you mentioned, Matt, he has a pro game because he's already playing with pros. Yeah. And the fact that he goes down from the SHL, where he's literally having a season for the ages, where he's on pace for the most dominant U18 season or draft eligible season by an 18-year-old in the SHL, he's at the forefront because of that. And I think teams right now, they want to see players that if you could come in right now and you could compete and play well against older competition, you are going to thrive in this league. And Stenberg did just that. And it's not just the patience that he has with the puck, the transitional play, that amazing assist that he had when he set up Sasha Boumediene, where he curls back, goes in, loses control, regains it, and then he spots him. That's Ivar Stenberg at his finest. He's not afraid to go into the corners. He's not afraid to throw a reverse Peter Forsberg hit and throw somebody onto their behind. This guy will do whatever it takes to win, and he did that. He showed up in the medal round, or in their semifinal matchup, when Gavin McKenna was a little bit more quiet. He showed up in the gold medal game. Gavin McKenna showed up in the bronze, but ultimately, everyone's going to look at Stenberg and said he was the catalyst that helped get them going, especially on that Victor Eklund goal, on that Boumediene goal, and even out-muscling and out-skating the defender to get that empty netter. So to me right now, this is going to be a debate up until the very end, up until draft day, but I got to give it to Ivar Stenberg. I was going to give McKenna the benefit of the doubt. I was probably going to keep him there after the tournament, but that performance from Stenberg really solidified himself to move ahead of him and get first overall.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, I believe we were talking about this before the tournament, that this might change things, and it seems to have. So, I mean, Dayton, I know you cover the WHL. You were, Gavin McKenna was the guy that you've had your eye on for a long time. What do you think about this matchup here? Who kind of is ahead after this tournament?
I think I got to agree with Peter. For me, it's Ivar Stenberg. There is no question that Gavin McKenna is an excellent, if not elite, playmaker. Some of the passes that he pulled off were absolutely incredible. The only problem is he disappears. And these are things that I had watched with the Tigers when, the few times that I'd caught him in there. I remember watching Connor Bedard, and when he had the puck, it was like something was going to happen. He was always so incredible, and you knew where he was on the ice. I remember watching for McKenna in one game. This is, of course, a very small sample size, but I was struggling to find him. He did not stand out whatsoever. And then I learned that, he did actually get like 2 assists or something like that. I didn't see it because he disappears, especially when the pressure is on. And I think that was very evident in the World Juniors, and people have been talking about it in the NCAA as well. His defensive game is lacking. And there was one moment I saw him get caught at center ice, and he just used a stick to kind of like poke at the guy who just skated around him. Like there was no effort. His back check was really poor at times. It seemed like when he didn't have the puck, he didn't care, which is not a good sign, especially for a team that is trying to fight for gold medal. I never saw that with Stenberg. I always saw somebody who was in it with the puck and then in it without. He was really hard in the corners. He would throw his size around. And I know we talk a lot about like little guys who should get more recognition. This is a big guy who's using his size exactly how he should.
Absolutely.
And it's great. Is he 6'2" or bigger?
I think he's 6 feet 180.
Okay. He looked huge out there.
Yeah, 6 feet 181 per elite prospects.
he was looking as big as Verhoff at some times. Like he just plays so big and powerful that it was hard not to notice him every time he was on the ice. He was making a difference. McKenna, I'm not sure was. And two names for comparisons pop into my mind. First is Taylor Hall. I'm not sure how many people remember the Taylor versus Tyler debate, but it was essentially boiled down to one of them's going to be better now, one of them's going to be better later. Yeah. And so who are you going to take first overall? The Edmonton Oilers took the one who's going to be better now. They took Taylor Hall. And the Bruins ended up with Tyler Seguin, who ended up being better later. Like he's still performing at the top of his game. His injuries have been a significant concern as of late, but Taylor Hall's pretty much fallen off the face of the earth. I haven't heard about him for a while. Is he with Chicago now or Buffalo, or like he bounces around?
So many teams he's gone from back and forth, especially after that MVP season.
Yes.
Oh, he's with Carolina.
There we go. Yeah. How many teams would you have gone through before picking that one out? Because for me, it would have been about 30. Right? I think that's the debate that we're going to have between Stenberg and McKenna. McKenna might be better later. Stenberg's better now. And I think McKenna might have a higher upside based on his ability to move the puck and see the game. It's just there is significant issues in his game right now. And then the second name for a comparison is Shane Wright.
Yeah, I was about to say,
under the microscope for years, this is the first overall. This is the first overall. And then all of a sudden, there's maybe some problems in his game. And he dropped the fourth, and he is angry about it. And will he ever hit that height that people thought he would? I think there is a valid debate that maybe that is kind of out of the question now. Not to say that he's not an incredibly talented forward, but, I think there was too much excitement that got everybody caught up in the, the wave.
The hype.
The hype for sure. And now it's more of a realization. It's like, okay, well, we kind of overlooked some of these things, and this is the player that we're actually getting. Yeah. That also could be the concern and the reality with McKenna. It's like we were caught up in the potentially Bedard record-setting season and forgot that, well, maybe he's not actually a generational talent. Maybe he's just in very good to excellent top pick.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And it even brings up the notion too, like we know that the transition was going to be a little bit rough from WHL to NCAA. Everyone was waiting for him to try and hit his stride, and he just couldn't. And it's nowhere near where we thought that maybe Macklin Celebrini level, where we thought, okay, let's see how he handles with the transition. Blew everybody out of the water. Yeah. Everyone said, okay, let's see how McKenna handles the transition right now. Kind of average, right? I mean, again, 18 points in 60 games is pretty good. I agree. It just seems like he's not blowing anybody away at this point to fully say, you know what, you deserve the first overall pick right now, or you're the first overall consensus. And I think this, and not just amongst like writers, scouts online, really think NHL GMs and scouts are going to bring this to the forefront as well, and actually have a discussion. Who do we take if we get the first overall pick?
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to be we're not going to have him already written in pen. This is the guy have everything written out already. It's going to be an interesting who's going to be first overall, which is great. I like the uncertainty going into a draft. It's going to be fun to kind of debate this right up to it. We'll have more discussions, I'm sure, in our next episodes already. All right, to finish the show, we'll do a bit of a quick fire here. All right, there were a lot of other 2026 draft eligibles that were part of this tournament. Team Sweden and Team Canada and some other teams as well. Peter, I'll start with you. Any 2026 other guys that really stood out to you throughout the tournament?
One in particular, and obviously with draft eligible prospects, it's going to be a transitional period kind of thing where if it's their first tournament, kind of like Verhoff and Carroll's. Verhoff had some moments, good and bad. Carroll's had some moments, good and bad. But the one that really stood out for me was Tomas Sharenko from Slovakia. At one point was leading the tournament in goals. Ultimately, Slovakia got eliminated by Canada. He had a hat trick in one game. He led the team in goals and points, Slovakia. And I just love the all-around awareness that he brings to find the open ice. This is a guy that does a lot of damage, and he can pass, he can shoot. And this is another player that's playing in albeit maybe not as a competitive league compared to the SHL, but he's already being productive in the top tier or senior level in Slovakia right now. And to me, for him to utilize that skill set, the creativity that he has to be a dangerous player and find that open ice, I think it really improved his draft stock. And maybe he was maybe a late first, but I think he may have bumped himself up just a few more spots, or even if he was an early second, bumped himself into the first round, depending on, someone's preference. But I feel like he is a first round prospect for me because of that drive, because of that compete, and because of the skill set that he could bring along. Maybe going to be a middle six type player in the future, but a lot of offensive upside and great awareness off the puck as well.
All right, Dayton, what about you? Any other 2026 draft guys that really stood out to you?
I actually really liked what Verhoff was bringing. He didn't play the whole tournament. He got into 5 games. I think they sat him for the first 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he came in against Denmark.
Yeah. I thought he looked like one of the most mature defensemen on Canada's blue line. He was very calm, very poised, moved size well. I thought he had a really good pairing with Carroll's. I thought that was a pretty good, matchup. That they didn't play a lot, but those little looks I thought were pretty good and gave me confidence that this is a potential top 3, top 2, top 1 player for the NHL draft. And I'll just throw in one guy who similar for Czechia. Adam Novotny, I thought looked really good. Didn't get a ton of points, but man, he works hard. He gets in there, and he was somebody who I noticed pretty much every time he touched the puck. He's got some skill. I like him.
Sure, I'll mention Viggo Bjork, Sweden. He really impressed me. I didn't think he was that fast, but I mean, that 3-on-3. How many breakaways did he have? Couldn't score. 4 breakaways, and every time he shot, and I'm like, deke once. So like, the goalie's got you for your shot, so try to deke. And then he gets into the shootout and he tries to shoot again and still gets stopped. I also took a penalty in overtime, and I'm sure he was so happy that they didn't end up losing because of that. But he was really impressive throughout the tournament. And this is a guy that maybe fell to, what was he, a B-rated prospect in the
B-rated in the preliminary, yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's not, I don't think he's a B. I think he's a first round pick. I think he might actually be a top 20 guy because he is actually really skilled, and he actually was given a lot of responsibility by Sweden. He wasn't limited in ice time. He played, I think, a regular shift, and in overtime, like he was out there almost all the time. So I think he was really impressive to me. They kind of stood out a bit more than before, where maybe he was dropping from that top. I think he was talked about maybe in the top 10 early on and kind of fell down from there. But I think should after this tournament, maybe in the top 20 again. Mm-hmm. And very impressive. So I'll shout him out for Team Sweden.
Third on team scoring overall, behind 1 point behind both Berglund and Stenberg.
So very impressive tournament for him, and he'll be back next year as well, unless all of a sudden he's an NHL player. But you never know. He'll probably be part of Sweden again, and to defend that gold medal, and he'll have more responsibility because they're going to lose a few guys. So good to watch him in the future. All right, let's finish off the show with our own media all-star team and MVP. I'll start with you, Dayton. Who is your all-star team?
I don't think I differ too much from what they actually named. Best goalie, I think, was Love Herenstrom. He was really solid. Two best defensemen, Zane Parekh was just fantastic for Canada. And Thomas Galvis, I think I mentioned him earlier, very good for Czechia. And then, Czechia's Čihas, Wojtek Čihas, he was excellent. Another great player. I'll go with two different guys, though, to finish it off. TJ Ginla, I think, was my favorite Canadian. I love how he works. I love how he drives the net. I think they should have played him more. That might be a different debate. And then I think Jack Berglund was the most impressive forward for Sweden. Not to say that Ivar Stenberg or Anton Frondell were any less impactful, but I think he just had that little bit of extra that when things needed to be done, Jack Berglund finished them. Yeah, he was so good at that. A perfect captain for a gold medal winning team.
Yeah, he did everything for them. So, and then of course was the one that kept their hopes alive by scoring in the shootout, because they would have been done. He wouldn't have scored there. So yeah, it's very impressive from him. Peter, what about you for your media all-star team?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to stray away from the actual media all-stars because those were the top players and most notable ones from the tournament. Again, I kind of feel bad for Michael Haig, where he was named to that all-star team but wasn't named a top 3 player for Canada.
Yeah.
Don't quite understand that, but okay, whatever. Moving on. I still think that he should have been a top 3 player for Canada.
Yeah.
He probably could have been in the MVP debate as well. I think Čihas was a good pick as well, considering that they went the distance or tried to push Team Sweden. But I agree with Dayton. Stenberg or Berglund were also very deserving of that. Berglund with, his leadership qualities, his ability to battle, and Stenberg stepping up in both, elimination games in the not elimination games, but in the semifinal and the gold medal game, where he was absolutely a catalyst offensively for them. So, probably could have picked one of those 3 as well for MVP, but I think Čihas was still a really good pick overall.
Yeah, I agree with Čihas. He was very impressive throughout the tournament. Noticeable almost every game that I saw when Czechia there. So I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with all. I mean, the media all-star team, I think, would probably be mine. I do agree that TJ Ginla being maybe part of it, but because he was really impressive and probably should have been more of a player that played a bit more throughout. But Utah's got a good one there. So yeah, we're a lot of these players we're gonna be seeing in the NHL very soon. Anton Frondell, Chicago, again. I mean, they just add more guys. 1-2 punch. They already got a good 1-2 punch with Nazar, and you're gonna add Frondell in there too. That's a 1-2-3 punch, which will be pretty crazy. And Frondell, I think, we're gonna start seeing a Draisaitl thing, because he sets up on the same place with the one-timer, right? So yeah, it's gonna be Chicago's got a good one in Frondell as well. All right, we'll finish show with anyone else you want to talk about throughout the tournament, not just the teams that made the medal rounds, but anyone else, Dayton, you want to mention from any of the other countries?
I'll quickly mention Albert Smits from Latvia. I think he was a big reason why the Latvians were able to, again, do as well as they did. They are becoming a dark horse to make people upset.
Yeah.
That is what Latvia's job is now. They have taken over Slovakia's role, who used to do that very often. And now Slovakia is kind of moving into I think we can compete for a medal more often.
Yeah.
You mentioned parity earlier. This is a great time to be following junior hockey. This was one of the most fun tournaments I think I've had in a long time. So it's great.
Yeah. Latvia's always giving the teams frustrations. They're like, we're going to blow them out. No, it's only 1-0 after one. Very tight games whenever you play them. And, just away from juniors for a second, but Latvia for the Olympics, I was looking at their roster. They actually could be an annoying team. They've got some good players, NHL players that might actually make them a bit of an interesting one. And guys that were, of course, part of the World Juniors in the past as well. Peter, what about you? Anyone else you want to mention?
Yeah, shout out to Will Zellers. I did not have him leading the USA in goals and points. Offense went quiet, and I said the big thing was, where are you going to get your offense from? You know, he talked about guys like Riker Lee, Will Horkoff. Will Zellers was obviously one of those guys that I know I didn't mention, but he popped off offensively for them. So big shout out to him. Thomas Galvis, if he doesn't get drafted this year, teams are passing up a kid with a big opportunity. And I know that he's small in stature, and I'm not comparing him to a Quinn Hughes or a Lane Hudson. But if you're willing to put your money on those two guys, or at least give them an opportunity, you should kind of do the same for Galvis, because he was absolutely lights out offensively for Czechia this year. So hopefully this is the year that he gets his name called. I had him as a mid to late third round pick last year. So hopefully he's in that range, maybe a little bit higher up. Who knows? And overall, too, Brady Martin. I've always been a big Brady Martin fan, too. It's unfortunate that he suffered that injury in the semifinal game, but he was having a big tournament for Canada. I think he would have been one of their top players overall. So, sucks that he left out early, but you know he was already getting a big fan following. So Nashville, you got a good one.
Yeah, I think that he would have made a difference in the game. And you lose a guy like that. He was having a really good tournament too. So that was a big blow to Canada when he got hurt for sure. All right. Well, that's another World Juniors in the books. Lots of excitement, and next year is going to be exciting again. It's going to be in Canada. I know there were a lot of people kind of complaining about the crowds, that they weren't getting a lot of audience. I think the bronze medal game only had like 3,000 people at it. So it's like, in Canada, it'd probably be a bit fuller. It seems like, at least. We'll see. It's going to be fun to have it in Canada again next year. So thanks, Dayton. Thanks, Peter, for coming on, as always, talking World Juniors, talking prospects. We'll jump back into our draft discussion in our next episode, back into our normal programming, I guess. Talking about the draft as we keep getting closer and closer. I know, Peter, you've got another set of rankings in the works. We'll talk about that, of course, when they come out. But make sure to check out everything at thehockeybears.com. We've got World Juniors Reaction. Lots of that coverage is still out there, so make sure you're checking all that out. And then all of our other coverage, prospect stuff as well. But until our next episode, we will see you next time.